Brillante Mendoza only began directing feature films at the age of 45.
14 years ago, my first feature, I did it actually in 8 days.
8 days.
And that film won the grand prize in Locarno.
A Brillante Mendoza pour Kinatay.
Being the first and only Filipino to receive the Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival, his focus has always been the societal issues of his homeland.
As an artist, as a filmmaker, and as a storyteller, you have to connect with the real world. You cannot just write story in your air-conditioned room without seeing and feeling the world around you.
He describes his signature docudrama style as Neorealism.
It should look like a documentary. It should look very natural. It has to look like it's happening in real life.
His goal is to have the actors not act.
I don't provide them the scripts.
No lines.
I don't want them memorizing the lines.
And what do they do then?
I have to put you in the situation.
With 16 films in 14 years, he sees his work as a vacation.
When you do films, it's a vacation. You love going there. You love interacting with people. You love doing what you're doing. And you enjoy every beat and moment of it.
This is Filipino independent film director Brillante Mendoza. Despite his busy schedule, Brillante Mendoza still found time to hold a master class in Shanghai. He offered the audience a good opportunity to learn his film style and unique working methods. Welcome. Good to see you in Shanghai. Well, you just came directly from the work scene, right? You didn't finish until 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes, yes.
The same day.
Yes.
First time here in Shanghai?
Not first time in Shanghai. I've been here several times before as a tourist.
As a tourist?
Yes.
So Shanghai in your eyes as a tourist and as a film director, any difference at all?
Of course, in terms of people that you meet, and I always, look at the place where I go through the people, not just about the place or... It was great sharing these experiences to a live audience because they get to interact with me personally and see me how I share and how I talk. And most especially with the video that we had, they have more or less a glimpse of how I make films, how I interact with not only with my actors, but how I create films in general.
And what struck me actually at the master class is you told us most of the projects, or a lot of the projects, you would finish shooting within about 10 to 15 days.
Yes, yes.
That's crazy for a film.
Well, for me, not really, because that's how I really started, even from the films that I did like 14 years ago. Yeah, my first feature, I did it actually in 8 days.
8 days?
8 days. The very first film I did, and that film won the grand prize in Locarno. And, and it was distributed in Europe, it was distributed in the United States, it was shown in Toronto. I think it has also something to do with the film aesthetics that I apply, and also about the storytelling. Plus, of course, a lot of hard work in terms of preparation and pre-production. And I think that's where the secret lies, is in terms of pre-production and knowing exactly what you want. And you are not striving for perfection, because at the end of the day that there's no such thing as perfection. It only exists in our ideal world, in our ideal mind. But eventually, just like life, there's nothing perfect. And you have to content yourself with that. So that is already in my own mindset. And I always prepare for plan B, because I think at the end of the day, it's plan B that really suits what you really want.
And normally plan B meaning, acceptable but not the best.
It is acceptable but not the best.
So does it have anything to do with you've been in the advertising industry before you became a director?
Yes, probably because I did not go to a film school. I went straight to, film production. So this is my way of learning. It's my experience. So just looking at different directors, both in advertising and in narrative films, I tend to compare, and see the process of making it and the final product. In the final product, you don't see anything, from their process.
Yeah,
It's a totally different product.
Yeah.
So I was asking, where is this process? What happened to all this process? What happened to all this meticulous little putting details to all this little stuff that I don't even see in the final product? Where is that? At the end of the day, what is most important is the final product. For as long as the message is there and the message is clear, the process is just like one part of the whole journey. So you still have the editing, you still have the music, you still have the sound, you still have the post-production, and you still have your voice. So I think that is what is most important, what the audience will gonna see at the end of the day.
Brillante Mendoza was born and raised in San Fernando, Pampanga in 1960. He studied fine art and advertising at Manila's University of Santo Tomas and had a career as one of the most sought-after production designers in commercials, film and theater. It was not until 2005 that he directed his first feature film, The Masseur. But in just 4 years, his 7th film, Kinate, won him the award for Best Director at the 62nd Cannes Film Festival.
Alam mo talaga pag first time, kakabahan ka. Manood ka na lang.
Throughout the years, docudrama realism has become Mendoza's signature style. Your films, the subjects, the stories are mostly reflecting the life, the social situation in the Philippines. Did you intentionally target this area of the storylines?
Not exactly targeting a specific area, but I am most interested with the societal issues. I think for me, it is not just about creating beautiful images through cinema, but telling stories that would somehow affect us as human beings.
That is why you mentioned actually at the masterclass the three principles.
Yes, the first one, you have to be referential, meaning the very first thing that you need to do when creating a story is you have to have an actual person or an actual experience or an actual situation where you will base eventually your story. Because why? Because anybody can create stories in their mind. But if you get it from a real life situation and reflect on it, then it's worth telling.
Where do you get all these, the sources, the stories?
That's why you have to connect with real people. That's why as an artist, as a filmmaker, and as a storyteller, you have to connect with the real world. You cannot just write story in your air-conditioned room without seeing and feeling the world around you. You have to go out there. You have to feel the people. You have to talk to them. You have to experience somehow what they are experiencing, to feel as a human being also, not just as a creator in your mind.
And the second principle is being socialized.
Yes. Why did you choose a specific story? Is this story only important to you as a person because you have similar experiences? No, it should somehow, the reason why you choose this topic idea is because you know that somehow it could affect also another person. It could affect the community. It could affect the society. It could affect people.
Social significance.
Social significance. That's why it's important. Otherwise, if it's just about, her love story or his love story that connects to you, that also, reminded you about your love life or something, it's too personal. I don't find that too significant because it doesn't affect the society.
Okay, the third principle being natural.
It has to be naturalized. You are getting your reference from real people and you want to humanize them as much as you can and to affect the society in general. You want to make them truthful. You want to make them honest. You want to make them real. That's why when you capture this on the screen, it has to look like it's happening in real life. So it should look like a documentary. It should look very natural. It shouldn't look like there are actors acting a character. You should see them as the real people, you know, that you just capture those moments when they were experiencing such thing at that particular moment in their life.
How is that principle, say the third one, being naturalized? How is that going to affect you in choosing actors for your films?
First of all, when these actors, professional actors, they work with me, they know my film aesthetics, they know my style. So they know that they are not in my film to show their beautiful faces. They will work with me because they are interested in performing a specific character. So I think psychologically they are already prepared. So they don't look for makeup artists, they don't look for hairstylists or wardrobe to fix their costume. You know, we give them the kind of clothes that would suit the character, not them as an actor.
Brillante Mendoza creates his films in a very unusual way by pursuing the art of acting without acting. France's iconic actress Isabelle Huppert was part of the ensemble of the hostages kidnapped by terrorists in his 2012 film Captive.
He manages to create such an excitement, to create such incredible situations, so true, so real. And yet, you know, it's a movie, it's not a documentary. It's way beyond anything I've known before.
One of the Philippines' most versatile actresses, Jacqueline Jose, has appeared in 4 of his films, with the latest Marosa earning her the Best Actress Award at the 69th Cannes Film Festival. Professional actors, you know, like we discussed, they had this traditional way or a professional way of method acting.
Exactly.
They would have to understand what the character is about, and then they try to put this themselves in that situation, and they act.
Yes.
But that's not what you were looking for.
No, that's not what I'm looking for. That's why I don't provide them the scripts. I try to avoid them to memorize the lines.
No lines.
I don't want them memorizing the lines.
And what do they do then?
I provide them the situation, but before that, I'll have to tell them that they are playing a specific characters and provide them all the information about this specific character. Say, for instance, if she's a woman, you know, who has a husband who is a corrupt police, as a husband you have children, blah, 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 and you are living in this kind of environment, you are not educated, you cannot provide for your own clothes, blah, 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 blah. And if they ask me, but how do they speak? I would have somebody from this environment, you know, talk to them. So that they can immerse, you know. And
that immersion is extremely important for them to get the feel of what the character is.
Of course. I have to tell them that this is your house, so you have to know every bit and, you know, pieces of this house, where the plates are, where your clothes are, etc., etc. And you know that it's hot here, there's no air condition, there's no electric fan, it's humid. So I have to see you perspiring.
It's not so much of make-believe, it's actually you're believing. You're living that moment.
Of course. So in order for them to know that and to understand, they have to experience that.
Ooh.
Well, fortunately and unfortunately for them.
And that is why it cannot last longer than 8 days or 10 days. Could be tough for the actors.
Yeah, so imagine that I have, you know, if you are an actor and I have to put you in this situation, then you can really feel it, you can really experience it.
Camera work also shows that principle, because sometimes it's not like a proper standard way of using cameras. It's not the traditional professional way of photography.
Yes.
And that was also designed.
That was also designed, and that's very, very difficult because I'm using professional cinematographers. I'm not using cinematographers that I just took, from straight from school who just know how to use a simple camera. These are technicians. These are trained cinematographers, and in order for them to, unlearn everything. Unlearn, yes. Unlearn everything that they learned from school, that they learned from their master, or from whoever, their mentors, would be very difficult. Just like the actors unlearning everything that they've learned throughout their career, is very difficult for them. Because I don't want everything is sharp and focused every time you see.
When it's moving, you would lose focus.
You would lose focus. In real life, our eyes adjust to where we are looking at and to whom we are looking at. That's how natural, that's the physiology of our sight. I try to adopt that. I try to adopt this realism even in photography. So even with lighting, for instance, if they are inside a room where it's dark and the windows are closed and you don't have a source of light, then it should be dark. I don't need to provide, lights because not unless they turn on the lights. Now, if they turn on the lights, what kind of light is that? Normally, they don't use warm lights or tungsten light. They use the white lights because it's less expensive. But using white lights on photography doesn't look good on the actors because it makes their face white, pale. But unfortunately, that's how it is in these places. So if you are an actor and you want to look good, of course...
Try a different director.
Try a different director. You are not interested with their beautiful faces, but you are interested with them as characters, as people, as individuals.
Besides Cannes, Mendoza's films have also received a number of nominations in Venice and Berlin.
Kwentong magbubukas sa ating isipan sa wagas na pagpapakasakit ng isang babae.
However, with his film themes always focusing on poverty, corruption, and social strife, criticism came alongside the increasing international attention.
Pero kung malaman ko na may kahit sino sa inyong involved sa pagkawala ng bag na yan, ako mismo ang papatay sa inyo.
All these social issues that are reflected in your films, if you look at Morosa, the living condition is not that good. And if you look at Captive, it's also a miserable life. And if you look at the policeman story, Alpha is the corruption. So do you get criticized about revealing basically the dark sides of the Filipino society too much, even to the international community?
Yeah, of course. The first thing that I get criticized is I used to showing too much about the dark side of the Filipino society, to the point of accusing me of poverty porn, meaning I just show the poverty in the Philippines. I'm using poverty to my advantage to showcase my talent and everything, exploiting the poor, which I think the other way around. If you are telling stories of people who are generally poor in your country, who are like 80% poor, that's not exploitation. That's basically telling the stories of everyone. You are not just telling a specific percentage or number of people who happens to be poor.
Not a set-up story, but a real story.
It's a real story, so there is no exploitation happening. It's the reason why I'm showing them, because it becomes a way of life that everybody is like seeing there, experiencing it, but nobody seems to care anymore because it just becomes a part of life. This situation becomes a part of life. It shouldn't be. And in order for them to realize that and to see that, you have to be very specific about your story. You have to put importance and significance why this is important, because it shouldn't happen.
The background of where you grew up or your working experience, how much has been affected by that?
Maybe in my environment, when I see people who are really suffering, it doesn't make me feel good. People deserve better. They deserve They deserve dignity. They deserve not a life that is up there, but at least a simple life that they could feel that they are part of the society.
What is the general picture of the film industry in the Philippines like?
Well, it's thriving. You know, a lot of Filipino films are now being recognized abroad, not only my films, but now we were able to open up, you know, in the world, you know, the kind of films that we make. And that's a good sign. It's a good sign. Eventually, we want our films to be distributed also. We want to have an identity, a Filipino film. You know, what is a Filipino film? We don't know yet.
So what is a Filipino film?
I cannot identify the Filipino film only through my films. Because if, you know, foreigners would identify my film, they'll just say that, you know, a Filipino film is about poverty, which I don't like. So we have a lot of stories to tell, but we just have to find our own identity also. Maybe with other filmmakers, Filipino filmmakers, who can somehow, you know, show the other side of the Philippines.
Bali, robbery with homicide po ang kaso. Nahuli po yung suspect kaninang madaling araw.
Okay, Lola.
Magpapatulong po sana ako.
Brillante Mendoza regards film as a serious art with the power to educate and show truth. This is the motivation and ultimate goal for his films in the industry. To some people, and there is one argument saying, I mean, cinema is the art of fantasy. Basically, audiences, they walk into the cinema, put themselves in darkness, and within that 90 minutes of 120 minutes, they put themselves in this fantasy away from all this maybe hardships in their real lives. Yet in your movies, maybe it's a further reminder of how hard life is.
Yes, I completely agree with you, and I admit and I agree that film is basically first and foremost an entertainment. Okay, you go inside the cinema not to be reminded of hard life, not to be reminded of your own life. For 2 hours, you want to fantasize, and that's basically cinema for a lot of people, and for most people is. Okay. That's why my cinema is not mainstream. I am not here to compete with mainstream. I am here as an alternative because not all people, not the general audience, would like to, you know, would like to go there and inside the cinema and relax for 2 hours and fantasize. Some people who go inside the cinema want to experience cinema. They want to be educated also. And I am taking that opportunity, you know, this small opportunity, the glimpse of light that I have to reach out to this small portion of audience. Because at the end of the day, when you affect 1 or 2 audience, you can make the difference, or whom you change, I mean, whose lives have changed because of your film, because of your cinema. That in itself is already an achievement. It's a fulfillment as a filmmaker because you are able to affect 1 life. It is not just a way of relaxing. It is something that you want to experience because it's art.
You see it your mission to influence the society, to change the people.
No. That is my goal, although it is an impossible goal. I cannot change the society through my films. I cannot change the mindset of people through my films, but I could affect them. It's different when you say you change the mindset. That's impossible. That's dreaming too much. It's like me watching a cinema for 2 hours, like, you know, watching a fantasy film. I don't fantasize that way. I'm just being realistic. For me, what is important is at one point in their life, you were able to affect them. You know, they might not change immediately, but at one point in their life, they will experience what they saw in the film.
Your films will make a mark in their mind. In their mind.
And that is, for me, is important.
Yeah, but there could be a dilemma because, you know, to be more influential, you have to get to the mass public. You have to reach as many people as you can.
I think it could happen because, like, for instance, I have my own film appreciation for the past 8 years already. I go to different universities all over the Philippines I show my films, I interact, I talk, I converse with young students. And normally I would get about 2,000 to 3,000 students, you know, in one screening. This is one way of, you know, of learning and appreciating alternative films.
Brillante Mendoza is no doubt the most vital and important voice in contemporary Filipino cinema. And being 59 years old, he's still working hard and he's continued to be prolific. You started late, but you have a long list of productions under your name now these days. How did you manage to be so productive?
I think I just love what I'm doing. I don't see it like, you know, I don't make a big deal out of it. I just do it.
And you love doing what you're doing?
I love doing what I'm doing. I don't get pressured. I think I get sick if I don't do anything.
Your efforts paid off. Your films won the major prizes internationally at the Cannes. You won the Best Director.
Best Director and
Best Director and Best Actress.
Yeah.
And it's just like in your shooting scene, you didn't give them the lines, and they were not expecting. Maybe you didn't expect that.
I didn't expect
at
that.
all. But somehow it get recognized by the international film community. So what does that mean to you?
Well, it's a bonus. It's a bonus. I'm glad that with what I'm doing, people recognize what I do. So it's a bonus. I still do what I'm going to do, and I still do what I feel like doing and what I ought to do, because that's what I love doing.
Any changes at all after that?
No. Back in the Philippines, everything is normal. I mean, people, my peers, they recognize my achievement, but I don't want to get that in the way with what I do. I still do what I love doing.
And you won't be moving to other areas like, you know, the fantasy side of the cinema, doing sci-fis even? Not
at the moment, because even if I wanted to, I don't think I'll be good at that.
You'll be still focusing on the low budget, but the productions reflecting the reality of the society.
Anything that I am comfortable doing, you know, I think that's what I'm going to do, because I am in control of everything. I am in control of my production. I am in control of my stories. I am in control of my films, of where they go, where they are shown, you know, and I think I'm privileged doing that. Not all filmmakers are privileged doing that. I have this opportunity, and I'm just making use of it.
And it will make you go even further in that direction.
For as long as in the direction that I want to go.
Yeah.
You know, not in a different direction, but in the direction where I want my cinema and myself, you know, to go.
There's one very interesting word you used during the master class.
It's a vacation.
It's a vacation.
Yes, it's a vacation. Yeah. So when you do films, it's a vacation. You love going there. You love interacting with people. You love doing what you're doing. And you enjoy every beat and moment of it. You don't want it to end.
Seriously, every moment of it. And what is the most frustrating moment to you then?
When you no longer enjoy what you're doing. When you are pressured with what you are doing.
Any possibility, maybe in the future, you're going to work with Chinese directors or Chinese filmmakers? You've already started. Right?
Yeah, I already started working alongside with other Asian filmmakers. I've done films already in Tokyo. In Hong Kong, I did once already.
Yeah.
Along with other Asian filmmakers.
And hopefully more of your productions or more Filipino productions can be seen in China.
Yes, hopefully.
All the best wishes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.